Good YouTube, welcome back to the Brown Gen. In this video, we're going to take a slight break from talking about specific protocols and instead talk about the art of airdrop farming. And I'm going to show you how I've set up multiple wallets, taking some inspiration from someone on Twitter, and how you can build an airdrop farm for yourself. We'll talk about sort of the pitfalls, obviously, what the benefits are, and well, let's get into it. But remember, nothing I say here is financial advice. And also, I understand that when I talk these concepts, crypto can be complicated and you may have more questions than when you first tuned in. So if you're looking for private help, we've got a community that's been gradually building up. It costs $25 a month. It's through the YouTube membership. Join the Web3 Secret Society if you need that coaching, guidance, support, all of that kind of stuff. So maybe a week and a bit ago, someone named Greg on Twitter had posted their speed guide on how they were creating sort of airdrop farm, if we want to call it. So not just one wallet, but building out a plethora of wallets that could each airdrop farm get a ton of allocation. And the basic thesis behind this is that the following. Most people complain that what we call whale drops effectively, like the Manta New Paradigm initiative, require you to have a ton of capital, and your airdrop is directly correlated with the size of your investment, and it's like completely straight. So like if you put in 300 versus somebody who puts in 1, and the person who puts in 300 gets like 300 times the amount, with some exceptions for randomness that's involved in the box openings for Manta. The idea here though is because most protocols have what we call a fair drop, which is really while it is true that a bigger investment tends to get a bigger airdrop, it's not a one-to-one, and at that point there's actually a sort of diminishing returns on those accounts who have a ton of tokens, because if you would get the same amount of airdrop or a close enough amount as somebody who deposited 10 times more, well, maybe it's worth it now to have 10 wallets with a smaller amount to still hit that check mark and probably come out doing a little better. So that's sort of the concept here, and we're going to go through this. So the first thing I recommend to everyone is make sure that you have a wallet. In this case, I use Kepler, I use Leap. Kepler is sort of the more simple, basic one that I think people start on, and then they move over to Leap, which you can actually import through the Leap wallet. I'll probably make a video going into that specifically in the future, but you have your wallet. Okay, that's step one. The next step is you want to go through and you want to start creating wallets within the platform. So what I do is, and this is a deviation from what Greg said. Greg went and set up 10 profiles within Chrome. The idea here being that one seed phrase would control 10 wallets. I don't like that. I much prefer to have multiple wallets, each with its own seed phrase, and track them. So on a sheet somewhere in person, and remember, it's way easier in IBC because you stake tokens, you unstake them. If someone gets a hold of your account, you'll know because they're trying to unbond your tokens. So you can be somewhat aware, and it's more of a game of chicken. You just cancel any requests they put in. I haven't been through it. I imagine that's what you do, and you find a way to sort of buff up your security in the meantime. That all being said, I have a sheet of paper in real life where I have written down wallet 1. Here is the password, or not password, sorry. Here's the seed phrase for that wallet, and that's it. And sort of that's it. I codify it that way. So I have wallet 1, there we go. Wallet 2, same way. And then by doing so, each of them is a standalone. They're not tagged to my Google account or anything like that, or my Chrome account or whatever. So that's the first step. You can actually add the wallets. I'm showing you an example here. I'm letting you peek behind the curtain, and yes, I can count past 7. For some reason, I did wallet 8 before I did wallet 7, and I could never change the order here. But you just go to Kepler and you click on the top right, you click the little circle, and then you click add wallet, and you can keep adding wallets as much as you'd like. There's zero cost to you. So once you've done that step, the next step is to aim and sort of plan. Okay, so how much money do you have? In this case, you guys know what I tell you is good to stake in the system. If you can only stake 3, it's Atom, Injective, Celestia. If you can stake 4 or 5, then you add Kujira and you add Osmo. Now I understand, everyone is not going to be able to put these amounts in. If you're putting an amount in, I recommend aiming for about $100 minimum in each of these tokens. Yes, we have seen some examples, protocols like Dimension, where there were no minimums. Protocols like, I think, Hydro Finance was much of the same thing. If you stake any sort of injective, you get an airdrop regardless. So the qualifications were like that at the start. We don't expect that to continue. We expect, especially as people take advantage of methods like this, they're going to want to weed out these airdrop farmers, which I'm not saying you should do this, but if everyone else is doing it, it's almost a disservice to yourself if you aren't doing it, because the protocols will adapt, the airdrop schematics will also adapt accordingly. So consider having, if you are making wallets, 100 of each of these tokens. So let's say you just want to do Atom, Injective, Celestia. That means each wallet that you sort of start up, you want to have at least $300 in. If you have $3,000, then maybe you make 10 wallets. If you have $6,000, maybe you make 20 wallets. I'm just sort of walking you through the thought process here. So, you could do this. Greg has added Osmosis. In my case, I've added Osmosis as well as Kujira. So for me, I wanted a minimum of $500. Now, here is the step that trips up the most people. If we go back to sort of these rules, I would always recommend at all costs, it's super easy to transfer from wallet to wallet. Oh yeah, great. I just, find my wallet address for Cosmo on one, send it to the other. The problem is protocols will be looking for this. They can actually flag when there is a ton of activity between wallets that are actually competing for the same airdrop. I'm not sure exactly how they define what is a sort of good faith transaction versus what is obviously nefarious, like kind of washing and sort of mixing of funds to maximize on the airdrops. So for that reason, whenever I'm building out these wallets, I send them directly from a centralized exchange because it comes from a communal address, and they have no way of knowing, that it's coming to my wallet from me versus somewhere else. So all these wallets could be funded by the same centralized exchange. Nothing bad will happen in terms of being flagged. And that's the number one thing here. You want to avoid getting flagged by the protocol. Everything we do in airdrop farming is to ensure that you qualify for the most airdrops possible. That's why we tell you, do not stake with a centralized exchange validator. You're just going to disqualify yourself. This is why we also recommend, in most cases when possible, stake with validators outside the top 10, outside the top 20. Obviously, there are some circumstances, like with Injective, Black Panther is the number one validator. They weren't that before, but once they said, hey, we'll give an airdrop to everyone moved over. And same with Talus, they all went up. So you want to have a consideration there. And also with validators, as I'm talking about this, you want to make sure that you diversify, because sometimes through no fault of your own, a validator could get jailed for something they did on a specific protocol. And what that would result in is the tokens you have allocated from that validator will not be counted toward any airdrops. So this is why instead of going 100% one, try to split them up, unless, of course, you have a campaign. Like for Injective, I have my tokens split between Black Panther and Talus only, and that's because I want to maximize my airdrop rewards for this. But it's not a usual occurrence. So what Greg did here is he created 10 wallets. I'll sort of show you, where are we over here? I'll show you over here what he did. I do agree, I would just change Chrome profile to Kepler wallet profile or whatever. 1 to whatever number you're picking. Find the wallet addresses for each, both Injective, um, Celestia, Atom, Cosmo, whatever you're doing. Sorry, Osmo, whatever you're doing, and then try to at minimum have $100. In this case, he put in more than 100 because he wanted to have 3 Injective staked to Black Panther and a little less than 3 staked to Talus. The reason he didn't put all 6 is, as always, we recommend that you leave some money back as gas because you don't want to be stuck and go, well, now what do I do, right? So always try to leave yourself a bit of a buffer. And maybe I'll make a video on how you can create your own faucet, which is basically creating a separate account that has extra tokens just to top up your wallets, which is a practice that many use because it's hard to stay on top of all of these things. So his goal here was to really put in about $200 in each token. I'm saying you're most likely going to be okay with 100. I want to make sure it's realistic because if you're creating, like, let's be honest, most people here can't create for 5 different token set or 4 token sets, 200 each. That's $800 times 10. That's $8,000. I don't know that many people who can afford to put all of that in at one time. So do what works best for you. I think the most important thing is that you're tracking everything that you do here. That's why I sort of love the screenshot he gave, because here he shows what you're supposed to do. Because at the end of the day, you also want to be able to know where the rest of the money is. So let's say you go to Celestia and you put 4 TIA in Milky Way. Then you put in Osmosis. You want to document all that here. And then he staked 12 to Stakecito. Stakecito is a very good validator. They tend to do a lot of walkthrough videos. So they're very well connected in the space. They're not like some of the other validators, which literally you've never heard from them outside of, just clicking that button to delegate. So that stuff is super important. Now, one thing I will tell you is when you are going through this, we went through the first 3, right? So now you understand it's so important to track, so important to create as many wallets as you can with different seed phrases and having the allocation of 100 and not tipping off the protocol that you're all the same person by interacting with your wallets. Keep them separate. Do not let them interact. If you need to send funds from one wallet to the other, send them to the centralized exchange and then send them through the other way. I know it may be, maybe you pay like $1 or something on that transaction, but it's way better than disqualifying yourself from future airdrops within that, within whatever token you're referring to. The other thing I would say here is, and this is relatively new and sort of a smart addition, and I don't want to even say it's my idea. I've heard this a ton from people. You want to leave a buffer to increase the amount you staked every 4 to 8 weeks. And the reason I say this is we saw this come out with the Saga airdrop. And the Saga airdrop for Atom from the time of April 20th, 2023 to October 20th, as long as you had over 0 Atom and you ended with over 25 Atom and you didn't sort of start with 26 Atom and end exactly at 26, you qualified. So the first one is obviously going to be easy. The second one is amount dependent. But the third one is really showing that you're active, that you didn't just put money here and then just walked away and only showing up to collect with your hands out when they're doing an airdrop. So I recommend leaving a tiny bit aside. There are protocols out there like Yield Moss as well that you could potentially use to just auto compound your rewards. But I also think because, in some cases the rewards won't be substantial, try to up your amount by about 5 to 10% each month. That might be a little aggressive. Maybe we can be a little more conservative. I will leave that to you because, this was another innovation in sort of how people did airdrops. And we don't know how many protocols will adopt this. But the best thing you can do is keep in your mind, and this is also, why we review all these airdrops, because we want to learn. We want to know how we can best prepare for the next set. So that's the most important things you can do. After that, remember, you need to always be in here going and voting on proposals. Make sure when you go to governance that it's all either passed or voted for. And I recommend doing this one wallet at a time, go through all the interactions, and just by checking one wallet, you'll know if you've got to do it on others. And I would just literally set some time aside. Maybe you're watching TV, because it's really a brainless activity. You can click on vote, click on abstain, and everything else. I just want to sort of reemphasize, I'm not telling any of you that you need to do this, but it's an approach that many people in this space are doing, and many people have profited off doing this. I know people profited getting a ton from Arbitrum by farming on multiple wallets. And I know that IBC, with the upcoming season, there is going to be a ton of really lucrative airdrops, and some people are going to get a bigger share of it because they've put the time in to set up those farms. So all the links to everything I've shown you is in the description below. Check it out. Let me know what you think. If you need extra support and you're like, hey, I didn't understand this, can you walk me through how to create a private farm? This is one of the things that we've been talking about in the private group today, and I'd be more than happy to help. I'm sure the members will be happy to help. Consider joining our private community. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you found value in the video. If you did, like the video, share with somebody you know, somebody who you want to do well in the bull market this time. And if you haven't, hit the subscribe button. We're almost at 6,000 subscribers. Would love it to get there sort of by the end of the weekend. With that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.